Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Claire Knight, I'm Sales Director at Essential. I'm joined today by Sam Dolan, who's Creative Director and co-founder of Atollo, who specialise in making SharePoint intranets straightforward for organisations of all sizes and types. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning.
Just to set the scene a little bit, today we're going to be talking about the some intranet essentials and really focusing on some of the software aspects of helping an intranet project go smoothly. As we know, intranets have been around for a long time. They're not a new concept. But as the situation evolved with a very accelerated hybrid remote working last year, as with other organisations, we at Essential really started thinking about how we wanted to be and show up as an employer for our teams who are now spread out all over. And it looks like hybrid remote working is here to stay. So we started thinking about how we can bring the office online and really tie together all the elements of our digital workplace. And that's when we started talking to Atollo, and we liked it so much, we're delighted to become a partner. Really, it's been all over the news, Sam, that we're on the cusp of, or in the midst of, a massive sea change in the digital workplace. Lots of people not returning to the office at all, lots of people returning to the office but working with remote colleagues. And really what we're going through today is teasing out your experience and the Atollo team's experience in helping organisations create a jumping off point for their digital workplace. We've got a lot to talk about today. We've got 7 areas that we really want to go through. So if you're ready, Sam.
Yeah,
is that all right? We'll just dive in.
Let's dive straight in. Let's do it.
Let's do this. So the first one, make sure it looks good.
Yes.
From your experience, how important is it that a company intranet is branded?
Yes, this is the question that I get asked a lot. Should we brand it? And for me, the answer is always yes. I think you've got to create that feeling. A lot of organisations will spend a huge amount of time and effort on their brand and establishing their website and their marketing materials. And an intranet is no different. Arguably, an intranet is as important, if not more important. And there's no right or wrong, really. For me, it boils down to what works for your organization. Some of the intranets that we've worked on have been, as you can see on the screen now, very kind of a little bit different. Actually, you know what? I'll tell you what, I'll take a step back and I'll talk about what we would usually work with. And what we usually work with is organizations that want to continue establishing that brand, the culture and the feel of the company. We've got one on the right hand side here, Keysight Pulse, award-winning, recently won Nielsen Norman Group Award for Best Intranet of 2021.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Lots of hard work and blood, sweat and tears. But but they, as you can see here, they've gone for something very corporate on their brand, very, very brand heavy, lots of kind of red for call to action, greys, very clean, very professional, but very, very content driven. And then you've got the flip side. You've got the lounge from Greatwell Homes, and they've gone a lot different to what we would normally deal with. They have a lot of staff that are working from home. They've got staff that are in and around everywhere. They've gone for something that's a little bit different, a little bit more warming, a little bit more welcoming. They've gone for the lounge look and feel around it. They've brought elements of the home in there. Play on the word and everything, but something a little bit different, very much people related, so lots of nice imagery. But ultimately it comes down to what works for them, and that's their feel, that's their culture. And that's what you're trying to do here, is trying to establish either the culture that you have and continue to kind of reaffirm that, or the new culture, which is obviously what you talked about, is the new way of working, which is been a bit of a change for everybody. I think every business has been affected by it. But to answer your question, my opinion is yes, I think you should brand it. I think it's an amazing, perfect opportunity to establish the way you want to work and how you want to do it, and the brand and the values and the culture,
I suppose it's almost the way we've been thinking about it is, and where we first engaged with you is thinking about how to replace the office being the main, which for us it was. We were all in the office 4 days a week or so. So it's an intranet is a perfect opportunity to reposition that online for everybody to access wherever they're working.
We're working differently now. Arguably, we're working harder. We may be working very different hours outside of your core work hours. but we all need to have access to the same information. So having something as that central place that an organization can get to anytime, any place, any device is so important, more important than ever, really, especially with this hybrid workforce that you have now.
Well, actually, moving on to the next point, it goes sort of segues into this quite nicely. It's almost like we planned it. Really, one of the important things now more than ever, as we are in this remote hybrid working style, is how an intranet as a collaborative, communicative hub can spark those opportunities for networking, especially for larger organisations where you don't know everyone. How have you seen your customers using their intranet to really connect and create those network connections?
Well, one of the ones that stands out to me is one of our clients who's a kind of a very, very large solicitor, multiple locations around the country, and in Europe now, is they created this kind of cookery kind of club, these cooking sessions, which would have never been something that would ever been taken upon within the organization. They wouldn't have been allowed it. It just wouldn't have been their thing. But now all of a sudden, people are doing these types of things. They're doing these extra things using the 365 platform as part of their digital workplace strategy. Within the intranet, they are, they're sharing more ideas. People are having more ideas. They're putting things on our piece of functionality we have called the Idea Lab, where new ideas and fresh thinking is being used. It's putting out there and letting people think about it and comment on it and see what they think. And
I suppose it's like replacing that digital, having a digital water cooler approach to really connect people.
I mean it's so important, because we're not in the office now. We don't have that small talk conversations, those passing the corridors, that the actual water cooler, the water cooler the conversations. And also, as well, is the other side of things is the problem solving. One thing that we found in our organization is that our development team are problem solvers. We knew that, but what we didn't realize is that when somebody's huffing and puffing and maybe a few choice words are thrown about, you have that opportunity to be able to say, hey, is everything okay? Let's work on this together. When you're in isolation, that can be quite difficult. So having those things, having things in place, like discussion areas of discussion, using the using our example, using our advanced people search to find out if what skills that people have. Maybe I'm struggling with a presentation and I don't know PowerPoint very well, but Claire in the office knew this amazing, but she's not around. Is there somebody else that can help me with? It's having being able to support that social networking within the business, really.
And I guess finding out who's going to be in the office and when, so sort of linking up to any sort of booking or any capacity that the organisation's put in place to manage office space, using the intranet as a gateway for that.
Yeah, definitely. And then we have that kind of, I can't call it kind of business, but then you have the kind of the business social things, which is kind of what else is going on within the organization. Is there the clubs and the cooking nights I mentioned, chess clubs and all these various different things that can come out of in my view, organizations should and would get great benefit from doing this anyway. But sometimes, like I said, you get these ideas have to come naturally for them to take effect really in an organization. Changing culture.
I guess the internet could just be a portal for bringing it all together and putting it on display, which might have ordinarily happened in a physical office via a notice board or a team meeting, for example.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it sort of segues on a little bit to the need to have two-way communication channels and using the intranet as a way of sharing strategy, plans. And can you speak a little bit to how your customers use their intranets to really engage in a two-way conversation?
This is a fantastic one. I mean, you've got a fantastic, brilliant opportunity to do this, to actually inform the workforce of what's going on and also get that feedback from them in terms of any issues, which is always the easy one to go to, but also kind of, the next phases of the digital workplace strategy. In terms of working examples, I think the couple ones I can mention is the idea lab, which I talked about briefly in the previous point, where you have an opportunity within the Atollo product. We have the idea lab, and it's a great opportunity to be able to, for an organization, to put an idea, put it out there, and then gain that feedback. So, for example, Keysight Technologies, who we saw with Pulse, they have some fantastic feedback where they say things like, one particular one they said is they're going to have stand-up calls, so stand-up meetings, Monday kind of stand-up meetings where everybody are 15 minutes only. Company policy, 15 minutes only. What do people think about that? So people can support it, say, yeah, I support this, and then they can comment on it, which is great, because then you can get, you may not have thought about everything or every angle or how that could practically work in different areas of the business and different types of people. But also as well, you can have that, that's one channel. Then obviously that's one way of doing it. The other way is then having that feedback back from the management when they then take it forward into kind of SMT or the equivalent. So, we think this is a great idea, or we don't for this whatever reason. That's a really good way. I've seen Keysight really use that fantastic and really shape the way that people want to work, or kind of can comment on the way that Keysight want people to work. Another great fantastic one is the staff spotlight. So having that recognition, that praise is important more than ever, really, to again, you're not seeing those people to say, hey, done a great job, and have that emotion, have that kind of that sentiment feeling, when you see someone face to face. Potentially it's something over Teams, or it's a chat kind of saying you've done a good job or whatever, which is good, but everybody likes that face to face. But having something like the staff spotlight to be able to showcase and highlight somebody that's done a fantastic job or a fantastic piece of work, and then the reasons why, is a really good way of kind of telling everybody. And I think that's the thing, is informing everybody and telling everybody. But also as well is you've got a good way of establishing, like I said, new ways of working and getting that feedback. An intranet might be the first thing that you establish. Is then you're going to have all the issues of technology and access and permissions and all these things. It's then, have you got something in place to cater for that? Yes, there might be an IT system, but you've got a great opportunity here to push everybody to the intranet. So we have the support center, a centralized place where an organization can have a look at all their systems in a traffic-like format to see if there's an issue, if there's a problem. So instead of inundating the IT help desk or the support desk or your equivalent, you can jump on there and find out what's going on, and that can really help. And then you've got the kind of the socially bits, such as commenting and note boards and things like that, to kind of find out what's going on. Somebody got something in here that I need, or somebody knows something that I need to get access to, or whatever. So creating those communication channels are really, really key, and the success is if it's two-way in how you deal with it. Sometimes people just want to be heard. Sometimes people just want their idea to be heard, and it could be a great one, and you don't want to miss that, really.
Good point. And in that, it must be incredibly important to keep the content fresh. How can organisations make sure that their content is regularly kept up to date and updated sort of past the launch point? Yeah,
so one kind of small mistake that sometimes organizations make is they gear up to the go live. So they do all the content planning, which is great, which is good, and that's what's needed, and they decide what departments they want and what content's going to go in there, and then they go live, and then it kind of sometimes can kind of stop. And that's the mistake, is that content strategy, that content creation phase is ongoing. Is always ongoing. So what I kind of, when I talk to our clients, I say, you plan for go live, but then you need to then plan for going forward. And then also, how does that tap into your communication strategy? Because the name of the game is getting people to come back, getting people to use it. That's your measure of success. But if you can instill discoverability in there, so people can come in there that wouldn't normally go, or go there to look for something and find something else, it then becomes part of, it'll definitely be on the intranet because everything else is, type thing. So
and how can organisations sort of keep that, sort of cement that into their practices?
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing is obviously having content owners, having your content editors, and there's a couple of ways we can do that. You can, you can have one central team that looks after all content with organizations that do that, or you can have them departmentalized. So, you have a handful of content editors within HR that look after HR content, handful of content editors within finance, and they look after their content, but they've got to be responsible for it. And that's the name of the game, is making sure that they can do that do that role of adding content. Some of our clients, we work Glasgow School of Arts. When we did the training with them, it was it was a challenge, I'll not lie. It was an organization that hadn't really had an intranet before. They had content editors that really hadn't worked on an intranet, but we created a good content citizens program and made the content and training something that had to be taken seriously. They had to pass it, in a sense, and be responsible for it. They started off with 5. They now have over 100 content editors across 2 internet platforms for staff and for students. So I kind of like to think if Glasgow School of Arts can do it, then anybody can do it. But yeah, it's having that content there and having those people to do it. And you know what, understanding that people do have their jobs and their day jobs, but if everybody can make time to do the content editing and keep it fresh, people will keep coming back. Because if it's not, they won't. It's as simple as that. They won't come back. If they come back and a document hasn't been updated for 3 years, but they know about a document that's in their email, they'll go to the email. Path of least resistance always. So yeah, got it. Yeah, and then ultimately,
I guess there's quite a bit of change management involved in that sort of approach as well. But I think we'll be touching on that when it comes to launching and the next element, actually.
Well, just one thing on that. One thing I forgot to mention was is all well and good having this, but it needs to be wrapped up with executive buy-in. From the top, pushing that message down that the intranet is important for the business. And you know what? You will, if you use it and we all work together, then everybody benefits. Simple as that.
Yeah, having a clear stall set out from the management. This is how we're going to do things in our new digital workplace, and then cascading that throughout the organisation.
Yeah, definitely. And that kind of nicely brings us on to governance and ownership.
I know, it's so slick. So what's important? You've got the content editors. What else is important beyond launch day planning? You've got your stakeholders driving from the top. How important is having some sort of ownership across departments? Because I'm guessing that in most organisations there will be some sort of communications, HR ownership of a central platform as a whole. But the point here, departmental buy-in, how important is that?
Massive. I mean, huge. I mean, if you're going to go down the strategy of getting the departments to update their own content, then they have to be responsible for it. They have to own it. And because if they don't, it doesn't happen. And executive buy-in kind of helps that a little bit. So, hypothetically, if HR are dragging their feet a little bit with their content, you can escalate that conversation above to head of HR, or the CEO can say, no, this needs to be, this is important. It needs to be done type thing. So you've got to drive that from the top. But ownership is massive. One of the conversations I have quite a lot is the staff spotlight. So everybody tends to love the staff spotlight. It's a real good way of getting your face out there and what a great job you got to do. But that's just half the battle. The other side of it is owning it and having a content strategy in place. So who's going to be, so if you're going to say, right, we're going to have a monthly staff spotlight, who's going to go and find the 12? Who's going to write the article that tells them what a great job they've done? If you're going to do a little bit of an interview, who's going to do that? Oh, we haven't got a communications team. That's going to fall to HR. Then all of a sudden it's, I haven't got enough time. So it's if you're going to establish, a real positive, positive piece of content, then it has to have that, has that ownership. You've got to own it and be responsible for it. If it doesn't, if that particular content editor is falling behind on the content, you know what? It's okay. It's okay to say I'm too busy, but the key thing is having that contingency in place, which is exactly what Glasgow School of Arts do. They have 2 content editors for each department, and if the department wants to come on and wants to add content, they have to have 2, so there isn't that kind of bottleneck really. And ultimately,
So having those structures and processes in place to really back up.
Yeah, and having them established, because obviously this is going to be new. So who's going to who's going to turn around and say this is a process now? And then ultimately, as the final point, is why is why you're doing it. Some content may not work, some content may not be for your business, but ultimately it's it's knowing why you're doing it, and that could be because you want to share content and information. It's because you want to establish a new culture. It's because you want to do focus on people, and you've got initiatives. So again, it's just looking at what works for you really, in terms of both content and the strategy as a whole, really.
Yeah, good points. I know this is one of your favorite subjects, but talk to me about how you've seen and some of the strategies that some of your customers have really employed to make that launch successful and really lodge it into the minds of staff who maybe aren't used to using an intranet, or worse, have used an intranet that's really awful and haven't had a great experience with it.
Yeah, as you say, launching is one of my favourite bits. Yeah, along the brand alignment, the launching is my favourite bit, and this is the important bit. This is where the buzz goes. Now, one thing that you may have within the organisation is that negative feeling of a failed kind of intranet, or that hasn't quite worked, or something that's kind of been shoehorned into your organisation as a kind of a one of those quick win kind of temporary solutions that has been there for then kind of like 5 to 10 years, which sometimes happen. So you've really got a fantastic opportunity to kind of get that buzz back. So one thing I would definitely recommend is starting that communication early. Even if it's back in the day when we used to go into offices, even if it's posters around the office, with a it's coming in the logo, everyone's like, hey, what's this? If it's a teaser trailer, like a film would do, starting that communication really early, get people talking, get people kind of oh, what's this, and asking questions. And then as you then gear up to it, then you can obviously potentially start ramping up that communication. Some of our organizations, they will do things like the intranet is coming, they'll launch about the intranet, then they'll say, hey, did you know you'll be able to do this, or you'll be able to do that, your timesheets, you'll be able to submit them through the system. Doing that kind of stuff is really, really good. And then ultimately, when you're getting to the final straight, is then doing something like a launch video. We've partnered up with a fantastic organization called Insight Video that do all our kind of launch videos, and they'll do things from narrated ones, this is Claire has a problem, she doesn't know where to get her content from type thing, all the way to something out of a movie trailer, do you know what I mean? And it's been filmed on site and everything. But ultimately what you're doing is telling people what the intranet is, why it's important, and how it's going to help them and the organization. And that's what you want to do, and create that buzz. And then you go live, and initiatives can be put in place there, such as treasure hunts and content finding bits and quizzes and giveaway prizes. We've seen them all. We've seen everything from kind of vouchers all the way to iPads being given away, to get people there. Because if you've worked so hard on your content and you know that the content's great, you've worked on your why and the value you're going to offer, all you want is to your users to give you a chance to kind of come and see it, and that's what you got to entice them. And hopefully once they've been enticed and they've had a look, they then go, oh, hey, this is great, I can find everything. But that's only one part of it. It's then the end user adoption process that comes after that. It's then getting people to come back. It's then showing, changing the way of working. Don't send that email with those documents in, put it on the internet and send them the link, and things like that. And then backed up by your content editors, adding the content in there, your intranet champions that are talking about, intranet champions that are out there talking about how great the intranet is, shoehorning them into your meetings, bolting on where you've got kind of, I don't know, if you've got an SMT meeting or a department meeting, adding something on the AOB, any other business about the intranet. It's just banging the drum all the time. And then you've got the technology that can back that up with that as well, so changing changing your login screens, you know, so your load up screens within your browser and the messages.
I was going to say making it easy for people to start there. Has to be part of that.
Definitely.
Speaking as a typical user who cannot get my brain around any minor changes.
Yeah, I mean, this is one particular thing that I can talk all day about. You know, I do lots of great sessions around end user adoption and considerations around that. So yeah, you might want to stop me now because I can keep rolling on that one.
Next point actually is sort of really dealing with the sort of what's next, which is, and I dived on it a little bit too quickly, but forming the intranet habit for the long term. So you've got everyone aligned, you've got your buy-in, you've got your stakeholders driving everything, the gods have aligned. What are the practical steps that an organisation can take to really cement this intranet as being a collaborative jumping off point?
Yeah, so the first one there is stop the email update. So, you know, one thing I talk to a lot of clients about is they have this sometimes they have this fixation on getting rid of email, and I kind of don't like to do that because I think email has its place, definitely has its place. You know, people are in their emails, you know more than ever really, and it's a good place to kind of to get them on the hook really. It's about having the right type of email. It's not having an email every single day that just becomes a norm and you just delete it. But it's having that content-rich email that, you know, almost like I'm sure you shop at ASOS and you know, you get those fashion emails that come through that say, you know, here are the new stuff that's going on, here are the new trends, and here's something that you might be interested in, and here's something hot, hot content type thing. It's kind of having those as well, and maybe having those once a week that drives people into those intranets. You know, one of the good things that we did with an organization many years ago was, you know, to say to them, stop putting all your updates in your email in terms of your news story, but put the snippets. You know, have the snippets then launch them back to the intranet, because all of a sudden people then say, oh, hey, look at all this great content, look at all this news here, and look at what I can do. I can go and search it and search it by a tag and things like that. So, you know, it's just changing, again, it's just changing those habits really. You know, some organizations will structure release their content as well to be able to then, you know, if you've got 10 departments in your organization, you maybe go live with 5, and then over the next 5 months you then kind of, you know, you send an email out saying, oh, hey, now this department's now live and this department's now live. And again, you're adding that content, you're driving that engagement, you're driving that signposting stuff to get people back to that intranet. Because like I said, you know, if you've done the strategy, you've done the content, you know they'll get great value about it. It's about letting them know that they're going to get that great value, and then ultimately getting them to then tell other people about the great value and what they've done for their intranet and things like that. So yeah, it's changing those habits really.
Well, a great way to do that, I think, is the point about creating gateways to other apps and resources. There's a lot of things that have been changing in our organisation. For example, we've changed how we manage various processes, from booking a desk to booking time off, to e-learning, linking those things through so that you start from the internet. So everything for your organisation is in one place. Must be useful.
Yeah, I mean, you broke up a little bit there, Claire, but yeah, I think.
Sorry.
Yes, okay. I think the gist I got about is that around that kind of that central area, and definitely, I mean, you know, if you don't have anything established from a digital workplace point of view or an intranet, then where are those links? They are in kind of, you know, in an email, or they're on the desktop browser, you know, link at the top, which may be on a computer in your office, you know, but when you're at home, you don't have those links, or it might be in a Word document. I've seen people create links within Word documents. But establishing an intranet, which for me is the starting point of your digital workplace kind of journey and strategy, is having those in one place is surely just makes everyone's life easier. You know, if you have a central area for all your applications, for your sister systems, for all your old legacy systems that you may have, you know, having that, you know, in one place has surely got to be a win. You know, even if that's one thing you do, if you have no content, nothing at all, and just have a central place for links, then that's better than what they had, that they can access from anywhere on any device. I mean, that's the name of the game, making people's lives easier. Yeah, definitely. Which I know we spoke about. You know, you've got quite a couple of systems knocking about. You know, it's getting them in that central area, definitely.
So let's just run through a summary of the top takeaways, and then we can open the floor for any questions and really make use of Sam while he's here.
Yeah, so you know, these are kind of my 5 things to kind of do is, you know, get that buy-in. For me, that executive sponsorship is so important. You know, getting that CEO, the VP, the director to kind of drive the message down, you know, and say, you know, the company is going to benefit from this. You are going to benefit from this. And if there's any issues, you know, you can escalate them all the way up to the person at the top, and you know, and they can be managed in a way that can get the message and get the job done. So yeah, getting that executive buy-in and getting them also as well on there. You know, it's an opportunity to get a video of the CEO or the director saying what a great thing that we're doing, and you know what what's going to be great about it and stuff. So that's the number one. The number 2 is having a clear vision. The successful projects that we've worked on have always been the ones that have the vision of what they want, you know, and that's sometimes doing a bit of the pre-work in there, so gathering requirements and speaking to people, finding out what they want. The needs of the directors of the company will be completely different to the shop floor workers, people that are in the office. So it's having that happy, you know, the balance of the two really, and also looking at what you're going to go live with, and then obviously the phased approach, because there is one thing that will happen here is the vision will be majority of what you think it will be, definitely, because it's obviously your vision, but there will be a bit of meandering in terms of how you get there, or content, or things that you may not have discovered, may not have known about that people wanted. And obviously when you're doing your content creation, you get that, and then all of a sudden you've got something a bit different that you never expected. So number 3 is build your content strategy. This is massive, and this is the thing that's going to take the longest as well. This is one thing that I bang the drum on about. I have to make a joke about it when I do my kickoff meetings, so I don't get, you know, kind of, oh, okay, Sam, we've heard this before. You know, it's knowing that this is going to take the longest, because you think you know what your content is, and I guarantee when you get the ball rolling, it will be more. So you've got to understand what your MVP is what's your most valuable product in terms of going live. But it's also looking at content to build for the go live and then going forward. And we've touched upon that with your content editors and having a plan in place and phased approach. So just knowing what kind of content you want to go live with, and then what you want to go live with after, and then how that kind of taps into the communication piece to get people back, which, you know, moves me on to number 4, which is communication, feedback. Even when you're going live, or you're about to go live, or you have gone live, it's having that clear kind of intranet help piece straight away. Real good thing. You know, people have all different technology levels. People are going to be really worried about breaking it, which obviously they won't. They're going to be worried about not doing something right, or not too sure, or they're panicking, and we don't want that, because if they panic and they go away, they may never come back. So we want to be able to kind of tell people, and there's great ways you can do that. We touched upon a couple of those, but having those brown bag sessions where people can bring their lunch to sit for a 5, 10, 15-minute Teams meeting would be a good suggestion. But again, that two-way communication, we're going to be telling people lots and lots and lots, but also we want to hear from them, because again, it's not the worst thing, but you know, it's one of those kind of disappointing moments, is when you think you've built something that people want and then it's kind of not. It's understanding that, okay, it's not a complete disaster, but it's then how do you then adapt to that type of thing, really. And then lastly is obviously prepare to evolve, because you're going on a journey, you know, and this won't stop. You know, if people are using it and it's successful, you'll have all sorts of feedback. You'll have some great feedback, you'll have ideas, you'll have issues, you'll have people moaning, you'll have all sorts. But I try and look at those all as a positive. If people want to take the time to give some feedback, whether it be positive or negative, it has to be listened to. You know, why is that person saying that? Why are they saying that negative point? You know, it might be because they're not involved and they want to be involved. It might be because they have a problem with technology. Okay, it's not an intranet thing, it's an IT thing, but you know what? We hear you and we'll help you. Because if you can help that one kind of negative person spin them into a positive, then hopefully they can have a positive impact on everybody else, you see. So, and again, reiterate is, you know, kind of keep banging that drum, you know, about what a great job that the project has been, and obviously what the intranet is going to be going forward.
Thanks, Sam. I'm just looking through the questions. There's one here that really interests me, and that is around SharePoint. And John is saying, what are the benefits of using SharePoint as the underlying structure rather than a standalone system? Because I've come across some clients that have been using more conventional web creation platforms instead of SharePoint.
Well, SharePoint, for people that don't know, obviously SharePoint Online is part of the Microsoft 365 platform, and SharePoint is a document repository. It's a kind of a content management system as well. So you can, you know, from a document point of view and content point of view, it's a fantastic place to put your documents, you know, and you can really deep dive into this product. It's really powerful. The starting point would be to obviously start with your documentation, put your documents in, get them in there. You've got the whole kind of version control around that, so you can help manage those documents. Atollo is built on top of SharePoint. So if you've already got that pre-existing, then Atollo can obviously kind of bolt on top of that. And what we essentially do is we improve what we feel needs to be improved, and we kind of utilize what we think is really good. I'm just trying to think what else. You've got essentially it's the central point to connect to everything, really. If you've got content within SharePoint, it can be connected to anything else within the 365 platform, and particularly around documents. You know, that's definitely a starting point. I would definitely start with if you're going to be looking at, you know, sharing content, sharing documents, and whatnot.
Thank you. And kind of segue to that, there's another one come through, and it says, how do you deal with an anti-SharePoint culture within a business due to a historically poor experience with SharePoint?
Yeah, that's a common one. It's a tough task. So what my opinion on this is that if people have had a poor experience and let's take SharePoint as the example here, 9 times out of 10 it boils down to you know, potentially no ways of working strategy. So how do we use that product, and what is that product for? You know, if you're going to use SharePoint to do something that it's not intended to, it's not going to work the right way. Like you wouldn't use Excel to do, you know, to create documents for, you know, that you would use Word for example. So it's, you know, using it the right way. And again, what a lot of companies will do is turn things on and just let people kind of, you know, run feral with it. So that's definitely something that needs is why you're using that product and using it the right way. The second thing then is having some training. SharePoint is, you know, you don't have to be an expert to use SharePoint, but again, it depends on what level of SharePoint you want to use. If you want to deep dive into the document version control and, you know, metadata and setting up documents and then linking those documents to automation and to, you know, to the Power Platform, which will help with notifications around who's updating it. The more you deep dive, then yes, you are going to need to be an expert, you know, from a content point of view. But to get those people back is to, like I said, to establish a ways of working strategy. This is why we use this product, and then give them some training. And that may be just a low level, you know, this is how you add documents, this is how you create pages type thing. But supporting them is the key thing there, really, and try and win them back. But also asking them the question, why do you think it's rubbish? You know, what you know, why have you got that opinion, and hopefully kind of deal with it based on what the answer is. But yeah, definitely, I guarantee that it'll either be we don't know why we've used it or what it's for, we don't know what it is, we think we're using it in the right way, or we haven't been told how to use it, will be the key takeaways from that one.
Well, thank you very much. I think this is probably the first in a series of sessions. There's so much that we want to tease out, and we'll be getting together some demo videos and really evolving this conversation as we go through to do a bit more of a show and tell.
Definitely.
But this morning, thank you very much for sharing your time with us and listening, and do get in touch with me at Essential. If this has triggered something or you're in the process of planning your own project, give us a shout and we can get a call arranged and figure out how we can help.
Sounds good to me.
Right.
Thanks for your time. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.